I'm Ben.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Ben and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy
our merch.
Indeed. Wait a second. Yeah, yours is on. Mine.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the people.
Buy our merch indeed.
By the band Refused.
Song is New Noise. We were actually reacting to this one a couple weeks. Like the whole channel shut down for a week because it was an official video. It did not fare well for us. We couldn't upload. It was we were in a tough. Now it wasn't. So now going forward, we're not any official videos. So that was able to still hang out with you guys on the daily. So we're going to do Refused, New Noise. If anybody has an official video they want us to do going forward, we won't be doing the official, but we can play it on the side if you specify that so we can still see those visuals. But yeah, here we go. About to get into this.
Yeah, so we got...
shout out to Anarchy99 who chose this song. That's one of the alliances.
This is one of the alliances, Anarchy99. Shout out to them. And New Noise Refused lyric video. Let's go. Build up here is crazy.
Shine! voice, we need new noise.
Doing the build up. Okay, that was The Refused, ladies and gentlemen. New noise.
I like their attitudes. They had like a unique little style up there. The moves he was doing.
Have we done? Yeah, yeah. Watch the official video.
Yeah,
guys.
we had the official video playing on the side.
It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
Those guys. So that was a lot of open chord riffage, and see, that's one of those things. Like as a guitar player, where like I'm kind of trapped in this thing where it's like chug chug chug. That's heavy. If you're open, it's not heavy, which is not necessarily true. Which is ridiculous as a Korn fan because a lot of their biggest hits were open chord stuff, like Blind stuff like that. It's all open. But I just haven't heard like a heavy song that's based on open riffage in a while, so that was pretty cool. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I have a vague idea of what they were trying to say lyrically. But what were your thoughts?
I actually didn't have the lyrics pulled up. They were on another tab because I just wanted to watch them.
You just wanted to see the video.
I did.
I was going back and forth.
I couldn't. I wanted to see what was going to happen because they had their little weird mask situation, and then there was like those white characters like all dressed like garbed up like there was some sort of, I don't know, poison in the air. And then
I thought they were kind of in a costume party. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no,
because they showed up in masks and all that stuff.
Oh no, I thought it was some like end of the world thing they were trying to communicate, but I don't know. And again, like I said, I was enjoying just watching them. You know how I am about they were very young looking,
yes.
And so like that sort of teenage boys they're just going nuts with the microphone and stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's cute. So I was enjoying
they
watching
had
them. And he
they-
flipped upside down and was like,
They had their own separate little thing going there.
yeah.
That was different from everybody else.
Yeah,
You know what
and
I'm
like
saying?
some of the moves I wouldn't necessarily say were like cool.
The move.
You know what I mean? But it was like he was doing his own thing, and I actually appreciate that kind of like weirdness. You know what I mean? Like you probably wouldn't see a brother doing that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
A brother.
A brother.
A brother. You probably wouldn't say a brother doing that stuff.
A brother. You probably wouldn't see.
A
You know what I'm
brother.
saying? Like you probably wouldn't see some of those moves coming from y'all, but he was doing them, and I appreciated them.
We lack the motion to move to the new beat. It's here for us to admire if we can afford the beauty of it, if we can afford the luxury of turning our heads, if we can adjust that $1,000 smile and behold the creation of man. Great words won't cover ugly actions, and good frames won't save bad paintings. That's a good line.
Mm-hmm.
Good frames will not save bad paintings.
Right, it's true. We have a picture from Kai, and it's such a great picture. And really, the frame on it is so boring.
Yeah, the frame is basic.
It's
Yeah.
so basic, but I tried to actually put a fancy frame around it, and it just didn't go because the picture itself had such beauty that it just needed the plainness of the border to just let that beauty just...
Yeah. I agree with that. When the day is over, the doors are locked on us because money buys the access and we can't pay the cost.
Speaking of Kai, I appreciated our conversation today. I very much needed that.
So shout out to the big homie
Shout out
Kai.
to Kai.
Shout out to the big homie Kai. So right there it says, we lack the motion to move to the new beat. I thought he was going to say we lack the emotion, but I think he's saying we lack the motion. Mm-hmm. Because that makes sense. We lack the motion to move. That makes sense. When the day is over, the doors are locked on us because money buys the access and we can't pay the cost. How can we expect anyone to listen if we're using the same old voice? We need new noise, new art for real people. We dance to all the wrong songs.
This is cute.
We enjoy all the wrong moves, and that's when they were kind of like offbeat and all that.
Yeah.
I
really
we
like
dance
what
to
they
all
did
the
with
wrong
this.
songs. We're not leading. Yeah, so I think this is about like, the interface between art and capital. And it was interesting. I was watching, I don't think it was a documentary. I think it was it was probably a biopic, but I think it was Mozart, one of these guys where, you're an amazing musician and then you get a stipend from some rich person that, they're like, play, make good music and whatever. And the guy was like, he was doing, I wish I would have remembered the movie, but basically what it was he was, the guy loved it at the beginning. He's like, oh, this is amazing. This is great, blah, blah, blah. It happened that what he liked and what the musician liked was the same thing. And so everything was all gravy. And then the musician's teacher basically, it was flashing back to when he was learning how to play music and all that. And the musician's teacher basically said, you're a genius kid, blah, blah, blah. And then he was basically saying, you need to expand this is too simple for you. You need to do other things because otherwise, whatever, it's a waste or a sin or something like that. And so the kid starts doing something different, and it sounded like completely different from what he did. Then he presented it to the guy, they did it at the big reveal or whatever, and people didn't like it, but it wasn't like they were throwing like eggs at the kid. It was just, it's not what we were used to, not what we expected. And so a lot of the movie was about the conflict between,
Really? Yeah.
you've got, this guy has all the capital, but here you are with all this talent. And then, so it was really interesting because it was basically a tug of war between his old teacher and his new benefactor. And how art, functions in that and all the rest of it. And that itself, that stress and strain itself became the inspiration for his art because he started playing angry. And I think that's basically how the movie ended, basically, was that he started playing their stuff, but he was playing it angrily, and but people were loving it. They're like, wow, this is really passionate music. So I think at the end of the movie, it kind of left you with a question like, well, who's right or wrong in this situation? Because, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, he kind of sold out.
Yeah.
But because he was playing angry, he was functioning within a certain kind of style, but because he was playing angry, people were like, wow, we've never heard passionate music like this before. So is that not art, and is that not true art as well? So it was just very, very interesting. But I think the song, I mean, I don't know if this song, obviously the song's not based on the movie, but I do think that that's kind of the conflict but I don't know, like in the modern age where people are getting discovered on Spotify and all that, and everybody's basically, we're basically independent contractors for YouTube. So if we put out a song, hey Jambi, since you're back, let's put some stuff together, Jambi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we could do that, and all the residuals and all that goes to us and our crew. We don't have to deal with a record label. We don't have to deal with any of that shit. So it's really, really interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's a real, and it's funny because it's like I probably will copyright that video.
I was literally just
Not
thinking
for
that.
us, just because to protect the other people. You know what I'm saying? In our crew.
To protect them.
Yeah, as far as because we're not gonna really take much of the YouTube money off of that one. That's gonna get and we've got bandmates and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I just think it's different now. Now you can kind of do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting with
Yeah.
YouTube because I remember when we first started the channel, people were like, if you talk about Trump or religion again, I'm going to unsubscribe. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But that was because we had no financial stake in any of that stuff. I had another job, whatever. But if that was my only, if it was my only job, I'd still say get the fuck out of here, just because of the way that I am. But like,
You can understand where people are coming from. They're
Yeah.
in a situation where they're financially dependent on a certain
correct.
on their art, and
Right.
then it's being that makes total sense. And I think like the record labels, I was just talking to the kids because it came up in a song where they said the guy was saying that he was not going to sell his soul. And so the kids were like, why? What does that mean? Like, what do you mean sell your soul? And so I'm like, well, like some people like literally say that they sold their soul to the devil so that way they could create good music. Whether or not they were able to do that,
Right.
that's not the point.
Right.
And there are other people who feel like they sold their soul because they had to listen to what the record label was telling them to do. And so the real music and art that they wanted to create had to get pushed to the side so they could create something else for someone else. My best writings have always come because they've been inspired by something I wanted to do or I wanted to talk about. My worst writings were the stupid reports they had us do in school. There was no inspiration in that. I cried all the way through it, and it made me hate school and hate learning.
That's one of the advantages.
So it's got to be kind of like, I'm talking about like that was before. Well, even when I was homeschooled, it was still.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's one of the advantages of homeschooling that we have. I was up there talking to
If you're not afraid.
having our one-on-one time,
Yeah.
and he was talking about history, and he was like, "Oh, it's so," and he's just been studying history
He's
like
been
mad,
going nuts with
and then
it.
he can come back and quote it to you. We do give them like there's other assignments too. Like we had them do a whole deep dive on COVID and all that, which part 2's coming, and they're like, "Yo, when are we gonna do our presentation?" Because it's they've got a lot of data. They're very, very excited to share.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that principle like goes all over the place. Like as far as like, but it was really interesting because he's saying we're not leading, which is right here he says we're not leading.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably a call to arms to other artists.
Yep.
Because I've been saying this, especially in the current Seats and Laban, that the artist is supposed to kind of be the conscience of a given culture.
Yep.
They're supposed to function as a conscience or the mirror to a given culture. And I think that was really accomplished in the late '60s, early '70s. Like you could listen to you can listen to music from the '60s and you know exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. There was a war. Even if you've never heard of Vietnam, if you've never heard about what was going, social revolutions, sexual revolutions, psychedelic revolutions, like you don't have to read any history book. If you get a catalog of like the top, let's say 50 songs between 1965 and 1975, it'll give you a good understanding of what was going on.
Yeah.
And current music really isn't like that, I don't think. I don't think that, you would know that there was all this crazy upheaval and the bifurcation of our country and mini skirmishes and mini civil wars. Like, I don't think you could listen. Like, Eminem had that song Mosh, when he was talking about Iraq and the Patriot Act and all that jazz, but they're few and far between. So he's saying we're not leading anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a cool thing to say, because a lot of times artists or whatever, they're going to say, I'm not your role model, or I don't have to, I'm trying to, especially with rap. You hear about it in rap. Like, I'm trying to make money, bro. I don't care about this shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's, and there's nothing wrong. I thought that Minnie Mouse thing was, was like in the video. I was like, what the hell? Like on the screen. I thought you put it up as an icon. She knew we were talking about her.
Yeah, she got embarrassed.
Yeah, Minnie Mouse. I was hanging out and Orion goes, hey, Dad. I was like, look at this kid.
I know. The way that he talks sometimes
Yeah.
is funny, right? Because he's not even 2, but he's like...
Orion's not 2. Yeah, he's 2.
He's 2?
Yeah, Orion's almost 3. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You talking about Reza?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
No, I keep saying... I've been saying that. I've been saying he's 2. Well, he is 2. He is not 3 yet. Anyway, yeah, I think that's one thing about music that's pretty cool. Not just music, but art in general. Is it's kind of like the gentle way of confronting issues that are important.
Or not so gentle.
In a non-confrontational way, in the sense of the music is there to kind of like slowly... It's kind of like the salve.
I don't know, man. I think that's because you were not exposed to a lot of that stuff. Like NWA with Fuck the Police, like that wasn't gentle. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like coming straight.
I think what I mean by
straight
gentle
for the
is
jugular.
Like... It's still, you still can like the beat of it, even if somebody disagrees with the message, you still like the beat, and so it kind of like forces you to kind of like, well, contend with this a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, and then you have, the show Pose, so, obviously, like,
yeah, I forgot about that show.
I'll never forget that show. That show was,
There's one season left, and I don't know if I'm gonna watch it, because I'm gonna assume how that's gonna end. Because life wasn't very good for LGBT people in the 80s. I mean, it's not good for them now, but
much worse than
that show was crazy because it showed you how on their own they were.
Yeah.
Even it's a show about trans people and coming up in the 80s, like during the whole Vogue period with Madonna, whatever, and like it's beautiful in the sense that because they were so marginalized that they had these houses and you had house mothers and things. I was just imagining Tina. Because she's that type of person. You had these like...
Yeah, she'd like it too.
Yeah, you had these house mothers.
Yeah, you're right.
Older trans folks who are a little bit above, a little bit older and had made it, knew how to survive, and they would take in all these other, But, like, you just saw how on their own they were. Even gay folks were horrible to them. Mm-hmm. So...
I mean, even with their own community.
Yeah, it was and then you add race elements, and it was just horrible. Like the way they're, but it was beautiful at the same time to see how stubborn they were about their own survival. Mm-hmm. Like that, there was a lot of beauty there, but at the same time, like...
There was a lot of pain.
A lot of pain.
Yeah.
A lot of pain. But, it did exactly what art is supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, but the problem is like a lot of the people that would stand to benefit the most...
Wouldn't give it a chance.
Wouldn't give it a shot, because it was so explicitly trans. LGBT. Like and it wasn't crazy graphic. It was just...
some of the parts were. Some of you were like, well, I didn't.
Yeah.
When they were doing their thing, Like,
yeah, but it shows you all the bullshit.
A little bit more cloth would have been necessary. But I'm not saying that because the person's trans. I'm just saying, like, in general.
In general, I'm not trying to see
a bit
that
more
shit.
of a shirt and a...
Yeah, I love you to death, but I ain't trying to see that shit.
Right, yeah, so
yeah, no, I agree a quadrillion %. Like, so when you're in that kind of situation, it's like, so that's the thing, and that's the other side of balancing the art, because if you're a really smart record label owner, you can say, okay, man, you don't want to be a sellout. Great. Okay, that's cool. But would you rather 400,000 people hear what you have to say, or would you rather 8,000 people hear what you have to say? Because what I would do is I would say, listen, put out this pop bullshit, get the 400,000 people to buy your record, and then they could stumble on some of your real songs. You see what I'm saying?
See, but that's a good way of wording it.
There's
that gives
always
somebody
ways
some freaking
of,
hope, man.
There's always
to be able to produce what they want to produce. That's a really great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think now a record label guy is going to say that because you don't develop that skill set when you don't have leverage. a lot of people can only function when they have leverage.
Yeah. Yep.
Getting somebody to do what you want them to do when you don't have the leverage is a highly specialized skill set. So,
I do not have that skill.
no.
I do not.
That's why I told Dorian, I said, Dorian, it is always better to change people by influence and not power.
I almost
Influence
I'm
people.
not even sure I even know how to influence. Like, I just go straight to power. I went to Starbucks today. I don't even think you heard the story.
I don't.
The
It's
ending
probably,
of it. So I went to
gonna be
Starbucks.
Ugly.
And they haven't been paying their associates enough money for a long time. And so these people are having a very hard time getting people to work for them. So there's 2 Starbucks that are open in our town, and both of them will close early. And you never know what the hours are going to be because it's so, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3,
I
sometimes
know.
it's 4.
Sometimes it's 4.
So you don't
it's
know.
the most disorganized thing I've ever
And
seen in
it's
my
so
life.
frustrating, and you can try to check online, but they still have the old hours on there, so you don't have a clue until you go over there. I called one location; they said they were going to be open. Turned out they were closed.
It's mind-boggling.
It's just so frustrating.
It's mind-boggling to me
I
that,
was
a,
like,
that a franchise that
yes,
huge
I know, and like when
get
they're
it
on,
together.
Starbucks is on. They have their environment, the
Yeah, it's
people, everything's
first class.
great. It's great. But I'm like, man, I wish I was a Dunkin' girl because this is the place for Dunkin'. There's Dunkins everywhere, and they're not closing early. So anyway, I go over to Starbucks, and I'm like, shoot, they probably close at 4. I literally pulled up. It wasn't even 4:01. Like, it had just changed to 4. So I'm like, okay. And there was a car in front of me. So when I got up to the window, I tried to place my order. She was like, no, we're not taking any orders. We close at 4. I'm like, well, it's literally just here. I just drove up. Can you please just take my order? I just really need some coffee. And she goes, nope. And her voice sounded like she was so happy to tell me no. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I was in line. I was like behind the person. And now it's 4:00 because I was like in line. And she said no, that I wasn't. But I was. There was a person in front of me. I waited for them to drive off. Anyway, so I told her, I said, okay, can I just talk to your manager? She goes, I am the manager. I said, okay, what is your name? And she said, that's when she stuttered a bit. I'm not going to give you my name. I said, well, you're the manager and you have a customer asking for your name. Please give me your name. And she said, no, ma'am, we're closed and that's it. And then she boop, went off the thing. And so I was so frustrated. I was just sitting there. And then Johan was like, Mom, I don't think that she's going to get your coffee. I was like, I know she's not going to get my coffee. So then I drove off. And I called the store and I asked to speak to the manager. And the girl said, oh, I'm the manager. And I asked for her name. She told me her name. I said, this cannot be the girl I just talked to. Otherwise, she wouldn't have told me her name. And so I said, were you the one that I just spoke to at the drive-thru? And she said, no, that was the other girl. I said, so there's 2 managers on? She's like, well, actually, there's 3 managers on right now. I said, okay, well, I need to know the name of the girl that I was just talking to that refused to give me her name and would not serve me. And then she said, she goes, yeah, we're not allowed to give out our names. I said, okay, that's a complete lie. You guys have name tags and I am asking for the name of the manager. So yes, you can give me the name of the manager. She refused to give it. I said, okay, let's just say her name was Emily. It was not Emily. It was very far from Emily. I said, okay, Emily, I'm going to be calling corporate about this situation. And I said, you're doing that now, babe? Yeah. Now? I said, I'm going to be calling corporate about this situation. And the only name that I have is your name, Emily. Is that the name that you want me to give them? Or are you going to give me the name of the person that actually I had this interaction with? And she said, yeah, I'm not going to be giving it. I mean, shout out to her for sticking with her friends, but still, it's not going to go well. So I said, I asked for it one more time. And then I said, okay, well, I'm calling corporate. And then I got off the phone with her. I called corporate like 2 hours later. The lady was like, this should not have happened. I'm so sorry. She said, this information, she's like, I highly doubt the person you were even talking to was a manager, because that's not the attitude of a manager to say, well, it just switched to 4:00 and you were here. We're not going to give you your coffee. She's like that. So she was like apologetic about it. And she said, this is going to go to the district manager. And I said, I told her I wanted a call back too from the district manager because I want to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. It was the wrong day. I found out too much bad information today. It was just a bad day for it.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
I literally had just finished reading that message.
No, that's what's happening right now is that people are between COVID and just general economics, and people are just at their.
Yeah, I had to go to the hospital today, and when I was in there and I was leaving, some guy was yelling at the women there and saying that this is just a bunch of bullshit. You guys are stupid. And the lady was like, see, blah, blah, blah. And she was like trying to, and he just walked off on her. And I was like, I was 2 seconds away from saying something to myself. And then I just felt like I could hear you in the back of my head saying, don't get involved. But I was like,
yeah, you got
everybody's getting edgy.
These flight attendants are getting assaulted by people because of like I have a really, really hard time with those people, man. I'm not talking about flight attendants. I'm talking about people who go after these workers just for
right after I said this,
just for doing their jobs. No, I'm saying just for doing their jobs with the mass shit. But
if she would have said to me,
I mean,
we've been working all day, and if we take one more order, there's just going to be another one that's going to pull it behind you.
I personally wouldn't have done that because I understand how hard it is for those people right now. At the same time, I completely understand why you did it because it's massively frustrating. And
I'm like, we got to work all night.
And then a lot of it just comes down to ego. It's like, nope. And they did it all funny like that. And you're like, oh, okay, motherfucker, I'll show you.
That's exactly what happened. Because I said, if she would have just said, look, ma'am, at 4:00, we just shut it down because literally, if you turn around, there's somebody pulling up behind you, and people just keep pulling up, but we're done. So, if she would have just said that, and I would have been like, oh, I'm not happy with it, but all right.
So if it's hard, you think about that. If it's hard for like workers, you know what I'm saying, to with the capital, imagine like where musicians are at right now. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to the label, because a lot of these guys, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of musicians make their money on tour. They don't make their money on the record. The record label makes the majority of their money. So you had an entire year. Imagine not being able to work for a year and you're not getting, I don't even know how compensation works for artists. You see what I'm saying? Like, because I understand like a W-2 or whatever on this side or with corporate America or whatever, but like for an artist, I don't even know how that works. Like if we don't make money on this thing, like there's no like, oh, here's a YouTube assistance program. Like that's not how it works. So these guys are not able to tour. There's so much pressure on these guys right now that I'm certain all of them are like, yeah, whatever you say, record label, we'll do whatever you say because people got to eat at the end of the day. And so, like, I think the song is I think everybody can relate because, we just talked about it. There's a whole bunch of people in this situation. But man, those artists are in a situation now where it's pretty crazy. And it's probably harder. It's definitely probably harder now than when these guys wrote this song. When did this song come out?
98.
98? That was 1998? Mm-hmm. Holy shit. The Shape of Punk to Come. Well, it just sounded like a kind of a more modernish type of song. I mean, 98. Holy smokes. That's close to, that's over 20 years ago, right?
Well, I mean, close to 30 years ago. Well, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, more like
that didn't sound like, it didn't sound very dated.
Yeah.
I bet this song was kind of like revolutionary in the 90s.
It reminded me of like The Verb.
Yeah.
Not the sound, but just like the time period, which I don't know when he was. But anyway, I would give this one a 9.1.
9.6. This is a good song. Shout out to 8099 and all them boys and girls for selecting this one because it brought us all over the place. But
it did. It also got us blocked the first time we listened to it. So it did bring us all over the place. All right, there you have it. Thanks for tuning in.
There you are, dear
More
listener.
to come.
Then out.
Sori out.
Gone.